Hey, everybody. Welcome to Sunday afternoon here. Was it March 2nd? And first live stream in a long time. So glad you can join me, whether you're watching live or after the fact. Hope your day is going well. We are going to talk about Zone 2 training, just kind of have a discussion about it. Anybody that is watching can join in the chat. I will do my best to answer any questions you may have. I've got some basic information to share, I guess, to kind of summarize everything around Zone 2 training. Very popular subject right now, especially from the longevity, health span space, especially within YouTube and other places on the internet. And it's a very powerful tool. And I've talked a lot about it on the channel here over the last couple of years. Done a few videos on it. Some actually the most popular videos on the channel are talking about Zone 2 training. I did that kind of Zone 2 explained, what was that, 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago or so, and then did a couple more Zone 2 videos around using Zwift, and I did one on using running for Zone 2. And then talked about just a video a couple weeks ago on kind of dialing in your intensity for Zone 2 training. So a lot of information about Zone 2. It's, like I said, a very powerful tool. So I just wanted to set up a live stream, kind of start this on a semi-regular basis. My thought is with these live streams is to do a live stream a week or two after a video I post. So this live stream, it's kind of going with the video I posted this week before last. So what was that? What would that have been? The 15th or 14th or 15th of February, the video I posted there. So I thought maybe I would just go ahead and do a live stream like a week or two after that as kind of an opportunity to have a little bit more of a discussion around the subject of whatever that video is, dive in a little bit, um, answer questions. Anybody that wants to join in can ask questions and just have a discussion about it. I want to really find out what all of you are doing regarding all these different topics that I'm posting videos on. The goal of the channel here is to build awareness and comfort and knowledge around doing what we can do as older adults, basically, people over the age of 35 or 40. Now, if you're under that age, you're more than welcome to join in on the channel because I think what we'll be discussing will apply to you eventually. But especially for older adults, age 40 and up, it's when we typically start thinking about what we can do to improve our health or get healthy, maybe for get healthy again. Maybe we were healthy while we were younger. We kind of got away from exercising and activity, and we want to get back going into it and hopefully set ourselves up for a lifetime of strength, vitality, health late into life as possible. So really doing what we can now to build our strength and our health so we have a good health span, not just a long life, but a long and healthy life. So that's really what I want the fitness roadmap to be, is a resource and a community eventually where we can all work together to help each other learn about and do the types of things that we should be doing on a long-term basis to maintain our health, improve our health and strength over time. So when we get older, when we get into our 60s, our 70s, our 80s, or even beyond that, we are increasing the odds that we are healthy and vital and active and engaged instead of injured or feeble or frail or unable to participate in activities with our families or our friends or enjoy hobbies or things that we want to enjoy. So that's really the whole goal about the fitness roadmap. And a big part of that is Zone 2. So I wanted to take the opportunity to talk about that a little bit here today. And there's really some everybody talks about zone two training being this powerful tool, and it can be, but I've found that there's a lot of confusion around, well, what exactly is zone two? How do you know that you're in zone two? What kind of activities can you do to do your zone two training? And how should you approach getting started if you haven't done any training or exercising in the past, or maybe it's been a long time? How do you get started? Even with zone two training, or just working out and exercising and activity in general. So, I wanted to talk a little bit about this today. And like I said, if you're watching it now, feel free to pop into the chat and leave any questions or comments. I'll do my best to answer them if I can, and have a conversation around it. If you are watching this after the fact, go ahead and leave a comment down below, sharing your experiences with Zone Two, or ask a question. I will try to visit the comments on a regular basis and answer as many as I can. And if I can't provide an answer, maybe at least give you some resources that you can use to get the information that you are looking for. So I wanted to just dive in because there's so much discussion um, around, well, what is your zone two heart rate? And that's a subject of the video I did a couple weeks ago. Is how do you figure out what your zone two heart rate is? And a lot of people will say, well, it's always 60 to 70% of your max heart rate is your zone two heart rate. And other people will say that it's between 70 and 80% of your max heart rate is your zone two heart rate. And I don't think either person is wrong, but the reality is that everybody is a little different. And let me just kind of show you. I just did a quick search on the internet, and I found a couple different things that say, hey, what is zone two? Different charts. And if you're just out there looking for information on zone two training, you might come across things like this. So take a look at this one. So this is zone. It's got five zones on this, and it goes from very light at the bottom in gray to maximum at the top. And there's benefits of these different levels. And once again, that's an interpretation. Okay. So they say very light helps with recovery. So 50 to 60% of your maximum heart rate. Then it says light, 60 to 70%. Now, this is what everybody calls zone two. And they say benefit, it improves basic endurance and fat burning. The third one is moderate, 70 to 80%. Benefit, improves aerobic fitness. Okay, so zone two in the blue, is it in the green, or maybe is it crossover in between the two? I don't know. What do you think? The next one is hard, 80 to 90%, and this is increased maximum performance capacity for shorter sessions. So I guess they're talking like interval sessions. And then the red is helps fit athletes develop speed. So the assumption there is you have to be an athlete to operate at 90 to 100% of your heart rate, and then it develops speed. Okay, that's one interpretation. So 60 to 70%. For them, zone two would be 60 to 70%. I go to this next chart that I found, and here's a different one. It's got 6 zones on it now. So we got an extra zone. So is it zone 2 out of 5 or zone 2 out of 6? I don't know. But it's based on RPE, which is short for rate of perceived exertion. So how do you feel? How hard do you feel yourself working? And this one has RPE of 1, very light activity. That's zone 1. And look at the range there. Well, on the other chart, zone 1 was 50 to 60%. Here they're saying 60 to 65%. Okay. Zone 2, light activity. So RPE of 2 to 3 out of a scale of 10. And they call this zone 2 for endurance and aerobic. And they say the heart rate is 65 to 75%. Okay, well, we're getting a little closer now, right? Their zone 3 is moderate activity. Uh, and this is what uh, tempo, stamina, and tempo, 75 to 82%. And then they go up from there. They go vigorous activity is a 7 to 8. That's like aerobic threshold. So think of that. I would think of that as like a five. If you're a runner, maybe a 5K or a 10K pace, something you could maybe do for uh, uh, 30 minutes to an hour and a half, something like that. Very hard activity, 9. So this is speed. So would this be maybe like 5K and under? If you were very fit, this could be a 5K. If you were running a quarter mile, maybe something like this. And then zone 6 in there is the 94 to 100. So they've got 6 zones dividing it up. But for them, their zone 2 is 65 to 75. So somewhere in that range. And then the third one that I found, and I could have found lots of others if I spent a little bit more time looking, but this one claims to have all the training zones and measures. It says the ultimate overview. So this one must be right, right? And once again, now it has 7 zones. We went from 5 zones to 6. Now we're at 7. Okay, let's find out. Zone 1 is from a time span effort of 1 to 6 hours. So this, theoretically, you could do this from anywhere from 1 to 6 hours. Um, and this is using a measurement of blood lactate levels. And that's kind of the traditional method that you would use in like a lab test environment. You would combine that kind of with your measuring of your carbon dioxide and oxygen with a mask, and then they would typically take blood lactate levels at various points. And when you get to different lactate levels, that indicates that different energy systems are coming online. And kind of the, the thought out there, it seems to be, is that zone 2 is somewhere 2 to maybe 2.5 millimoles. So that's going to be that second column here. It says 1.5 to 2.5. And that coordinates, and that's what they call zone 2, that light green area, 72 to 82%. Okay, steady work. So this would indicate that this would be something that you could do, what, 1 to 3 hours. So this kind of falls into what, I mean, I think of zone 2 being somewhere in that range, high 70s to maybe 80%, something like that. Then they go zone 3 is something you could do for 50 to 90 minutes. They call tempo, sweet spot. So this might be something like back in the day when I was competing or training to run in like half marathons. This would be kind of my effort level. I would be running at maybe 85 to 90% of my maximum heart rate threshold. So that now we're entering into that range of anything you can do from maybe 30 minutes to 60 minutes, long intervals. Then you got short intervals, zone 6 and zone 7. And so that zone 7 for them looks like hit intervals. So the super quick stuff like 10 seconds all out with a few seconds rest and hit it again. So, but the 3 different charts. So we got that. We started off with five zones, which were very broad bands. And in this case, their zone 2 is 60 to 70%. Then we got a 6 chart one that gives zone 2 of 65 to 75. And then we get this. So they're all different. What's the answer? I don't know. Everybody's going to be different from all the information. Now, I'm not a doctor. I'm not an exercise physiologist. I'm not a researcher of any kind. But I've spent a lot of time looking just for my own knowledge, and then hopefully to share with all of you as well. It seems like for zone 2 from the mitochondrial building standpoint, in other words, to get the benefits of maximum mitochondria development and all of that goes along with it, it seems to be in that 65 to maybe 80%, depending on the person and maybe depending on the day. There's some evidence to suggest that your optimal zone 2 range could be different from day to day, or even within a workout as you go for longer or that type of thing. Your ideal measure, I guess they get it by measuring lactate levels, could change. So I think that seems to be the range, but the question is, how do you determine? I guess the next question is, how do you determine what your heart rate level is? What is your maximum heart rate? And that brings up another area, and that's where people now you can see why there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of interest, but there's also a lot of confusion around the subject of what exactly is zone two. How do I find my heart rate? All of that. Um, then we get into, well, how do you determine your maximum heart rate? And um, there's a couple different ways of doing that. The first one, which I mentioned in my video a couple weeks ago, was the standard, which you see unfortunately everywhere, is 220 minus your age. That's your maximum heart rate. Um, there's no real evidence at all that 220 minus your age has um, any validity as a measure at all. But yet that's become I guess, the norm. Everybody talks about it. You go to a doctor and say, yeah, take 220 minus your age. That's your maximum heart rate. Well, for me, at age 60, 220 minus my age gives me what? 160. That would be 220 minus 60 is 160. I can tell you just a couple weeks ago when I was doing an interval workout on my bike on Swift, I saw 165 very easily, and I still had room to go. I've seen my maximum heart rate within the last 6 months be 173, 174. So by the 220 minus your age, I guess I'm dead because I've exceeded my maximum heart rate. So I would say if you're wondering how to determine loosely what your maximum heart rate is, ignore the 220 minus your age. There are a couple of other methods that will help you determine what kind of heart rate level you should be at least starting to think about from a zone two training perspective. And the first one, and this is something that has kind of come around from the um, Phil Maffetone. He's been, I think he's a runner and a coach. Has been had a system that he's developed over the years called the Maffetone method, and it's based on do the majority of your, and this is specific to running, but you could apply it to other exercise. Do the majority of your running at his level, which is essentially zone two, and then do 20% or so of your running at higher levels, basically VO2 max. And uh, what he is talking about here is this one, the Maffetone method. Let me switch this, and I'll go back. I'll go back to the full screen here. So, and this is a calculator site that has the Maffetone calculator on it. But essentially, what you do is you enter your age, and then your Maffetone level is 180 minus your age. So if I enter in my age of 60, maybe. There we go. Where'd it go? It's not working. There we go. 60. Okay. And then then there's a series of questions that he asks as part of that. Do you is your current waist larger than half of your current height? In other words, are you overweight or obese? Are you recovering from a major illness? Do any of these apply? Have you been injured? Have you had multiple injuries? Or have you been training consistently for more than 2 years without any problems and have made progress? So kind of based off of your current training status. In other words, have you been uninjured for a while, or maybe are you currently injured? I'm just going to go off the default and just say none of those apply to me. So my age is 60, 180 minus my age gives 120. So it gives the recommended training range. So this is the Maffetone method training range, which kind of equates loosely to maybe what zone two would be, is 110 to 120 beats per minute. And I think that's a um, a good a good place to start. It gets you in the ballpark. Um, and then you can utilize a tool or a method called the talk test, which is you may have seen around in your research if you've been looking at zone two. Um, talk test is wait to kind of test your effort as you're in the middle of doing it. So you're riding along, you're pedaling along, or running. If you can carry on a conversation, but you're talking for a few words, and you take a breath and go. That's kind of the talk test. If you're gasping for air, if you can't get more than a couple words, then you're probably not in zone two. You're probably up higher, and you need to drop your effort level down. So you can use that Maffetone method to get in that range of that ballpark, and then test it out to see whether that makes sense. And then you can adjust your effort up and down. Another way to test your heart rate, and I think this is a little more accurate outside of doing an actual lab test, which I would recommend that you do at some point if you're really uh, serious or you really want to dial things in and you've got the resources. They can be a little pricey, anywhere from a couple $100 up to $500 or $600, depending what it is. But outside of getting a lab test, the talk test is a great way to dial it in. Another way to figure out what your maximum heart rate is by using what's called the Karvonen method. It's called oftentimes the heart rate reserve method. Now, this is another way to figure what your maximum heart rate is. And from there, then you can use that 60 to 70% to kind of get you in the ballpark. So what that looks like is this. And this one is a site called Calculator Soup, which I think I referenced in my video from a couple weeks ago. Target heart rate zone. So you use MHR is maximum heart rate, and RHR is resting heart rate. So I know pretty certainly that my maximum heart rate is about 100 and let's see here. See if that gets in. I might be having a Bluetooth conflict. Okay, let's try this again. My maximum heart rate is 174. Come on. Okay, so I'm going to go through it here and do the math in my head since my keyboard doesn't seem to be cooperating with me here. Maximum heart rate is 174. My resting heart rate is about 40 to 45, depending on the day. So let's just call it 40. Um, so target heart rate um, for me would be 174 minus 40. Let's try it one more time here. Yeah, it's not working. It's not working for me today. All right. 174 minus my resting heart rate is 134. So I would use that as my base, and then I would times that by the intensity. So 134, let's say I want to do 70% for my maximum heart rate because I think that's where my zone two is. So 70 times 134 is what, 70? That's like 92. Let's call it 92. And then you add your resting heart rate back to there. So that would be about 131, 132. That would be theoretically maybe the top end of zone two. So another way of doing the calculation. I think the thing to keep in mind is that ultimately these are just ways to help you get uh, in the ballpark of what your zone two heart rate should be. So you could use either one of those methods, or you could not use any of them. You could just go out on your activity, whether it's running, walking, whatever it is, and just use the talk test to get to that effort level where you can kind of carry on a conversation with occasional stops for breathing as you're carrying on that conversation. That'll get you pretty close. Okay. Um, so the question is, okay, so we get that thing. And the other thing people have a lot of questions about is, okay, once I determine my heart rate approximately, what activities can I do to get effective zone two training with? And there are lots of different activities that you can do, and I'll just kind of give you an idea here. So um, we got here good zone two activities. So first thing you want something generally that is that you can maintain at a consistent effort. So if you're outside, whether you're biking, walking, running, you want something that is relatively level so you're not having to go uphill and downhill. Uphill is going to increase your heart rate, assuming you maintain the same effort. Downhill is probably going to decrease your heart rate. So, um, first one, you can always walk, run outside on a flat surface. That would be the uh, what I would what I would suggest if you're going to do outside. And I love being outside. I mean, there's a lot to be said for being outside and in the sun and all of that. But for zone two, you want something that's a flat surface because you want to eliminate that variability of the altitude going up and down, going up and down. So walking and running. So, if you have a track, or fortunately for me in the area I live, we've got sidewalks a lot of different places, and it's relatively level, especially once I get out of my little neighborhood. Can be relatively level, and I can do a few mile loop at least. Oh, look at that! Amber alert here in Georgia. Okay, um, so you want a flat surface for doing that. The next thing you can do is a treadmill. If you have a treadmill, either at home or if you go to the gym and there's a treadmill, that can be a fantastic way to do zone two. And you can even do intervals on a treadmill because you can adjust the speed of the treadmill and you can adjust the incline. Okay. As you increase the incline, all things being equal, if you keep if you set the treadmill speed at, say, 3 miles an hour and you do it level and you increase the incline, 5 degrees, 10 degrees, whatever, your heart rate's going to go up quite a bit. So you can dial it in pretty good. We have a treadmill that we've had for, I don't know how long have we had this thing, 15 years, something like that. And when the weather is less than ideal, we get when it's rainy or really windy or something like that, and I want to get a good workout in, I can set that treadmill and set the speed, and I can do anything from a nice zone two level, maybe where my heart rate's like 120, 125. So, and I can also do a VO2 max or an interval workout where I'm running uphill on the treadmill at 4 miles an hour, and I can get my heart rate well up into the 160s. So, very, very good way to do it. Highly recommended if you have access to a treadmill. Give it a try. The one thing with the treadmill is it can be kind of boring. So I rely on earbuds and podcasts or watching YouTube videos or audiobooks, that type of thing. But definitely can be a good way to do it. Um, the third thing you can do is elliptical or stairmaster. Pretty much the same thing as a treadmill. You can adjust the speed and the incline. Once again, can be very consistent. It makes it a great way to do zone two consistently. That's the key to zone two. If you can get to that level after a warm up, get to that level that maintains your zone two heart rate and stay there for, 25, 30, 45 minutes an hour and stay at that level of effort, that's going to give you the best benefits. Next one, if you have once again, outside, cycling, outdoors, fantastic way to do it. Once again, flat routes are better than hilly routes. It's going to be a lot easier to be consistent. Indoor cycling, Peloton or Zwift. Both my wife and I are huge Zwift fans. I've been doing indoor cycling off and on since 1996, 1997. I did a lot of outdoor riding in my probably 10, 15 years ago. Stopped for the most part because traffic got kind of crazy around here. But do any of you remember, this is a blast from the past, do any of you remember spinnervals? Was it Coach Troy? Anybody remember spinnervals? Enter that in the chat if you're if you're watching live. Does anybody remember spinnervals? Did you have any spinnervals VHS tapes or DVDs? We did, and I think we still have them. They're in a box over here somewhere. So yeah, um, but now I switched to Zwift about 4 years ago, 2019, 2020, right before the pandemic, and um, yeah, we use it quite a bit, and it's fantastic. If you go to the channel and look for using, you just type Zwift under the Fitness Roadmap channel, you'll find 3 or 4 videos about using Zwift for anything from a VO2 max to zone 2. It's a fantastic way to get your work in. My wife, I use it for zone 2 workouts, probably 2 to 3 days a week. Now I try to run 1 or 2 days a week just because I like being outside. But for zone 2, the bike is fantastic. Zwift makes it a little more tolerable because get some interactivity with the game, the cartoon. Definitely highly recommended if you enjoy cycling or you have a bike that you can hook up to a trainer. Definitely check that out. Or Peloton, same thing. The idea of once again being that you can keep it nice and consistent. Swimming. If you enjoy swimming, swimming can be a great way to do zone 2. I can swim, but I don't enjoy it that much, so I don't swim. But if you're a swimmer, um, great way, great way to do zone 2. And the last thing is rowing, either on the water or on the erg. And you notice I've got my Concept 2. I've had a Concept 2 rowing machine since 2010, so going on 15 years at this point. And this is once again a great community if you want to get a piece of equipment that's built like a tank, and great support. I've had that thing for 15 years. I put a fair amount of distance on it. I'm up to over 8 million meters now. This shirt I got when I reached 5 million meter lifetime meters. I think I'm at like 8,200,000 now. Um, the only thing I've done to that machine is put a little oil on the chain and we're good. So highly recommended. Rowing is a great way of doing that. Another thing to think about, I think we'll go here. Yeah, we talked about determining zone 2 heart rate. The lab test is the best way. You could buy a lactate meter and poke your finger as you're going. That's a few $100. But like we said, you could use the Maffetone method or the heart rate reserve method as a way to dial in your zone 2 heart and get it in the ballpark at least, and then use that talk test to dial in. The other thing now we've talked about heart rate. We talked about what what modality to use to do the zone 2 workouts in. The next question is how long and how much? How long do I need to do each session, and how much of this zone 2 stuff should I be doing? And basically, you want to, at a minimum, work up to a point where you can get to 30 minutes a session. That doesn't mean you have to do 30 minutes right away. If you have been relatively inactive and you're just trying to get going again, don't worry about this. Worry about getting active and building the habit of getting out and being active, whether it's going for a walk each day or if you have a treadmill or bike, just ease into it. But when you get to that level, if you can work up to doing 30 minutes in a session, that's a good range to start. That seems to be kind of what people are saying to get kind of that minimum effective dose of zone 2 is that 25 to 30 minutes. So if you can work up to 30 minutes a session, and sessions can be 1 to 2 hours. They can be longer than that, but most people, it's a time thing. You just run into a time limitation, and 1 to 2 hours is easily doable multiple days a week if you're actually working at your zone 2 level. For most people, 30 minutes to an hour seems to fit into, or easier to fit into, most schedules. So definitely, but try to get that 30 minutes to 45 minutes to an hour. And if you can get 2 to 4 sessions a week of that 30 minutes, call it 30 minutes to an hour. 2 to 4 sessions a week, you're going to really start realizing the benefits of zone two. And more, like I said, more is usually okay as long as you are truly in your zone two level. You should never, when you're in zone two, you should not feel like your legs are burning, you're out of breath, and unless you're just not used to the activity. In other words, if you haven't run before and you go out and you do a zone two run, you might have the heart rate dialed in, but if you haven't run in 3 months, your legs are going to be pretty sore the day after or a week or so after. So as long as you're used to the activity, um, you should not be sore. Okay, if you're sore after that, then you've overcooked it. You've gone a bit too hard. So more is usually okay, but I would say as you're getting older, you want to make sure you're allowing enough time for recovery. I tend to do right now, my zone two sessions tend to be um, Monday through Thursday. I tend to lift on Monday and Thursday. I'll do a little bit of zone two, like the short end of zone two after I lift. And then on Tuesday and Wednesday, I will do a little longer zone two. I typically take Friday off and just walk. And then Saturday or Sunday, depending on schedule, is when I'll do a VO2 max workout. My wife is doing zone two 3 days in a row. She's doing Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And then she's doing a VO2 max, which is something I'm gonna do a video on in the next little bit about my wife's progress through doing zone two and VO2 max because it's been amazing. She's done a fantastic job over the last year or two, and she's probably the prime example of what you can do if you decide you kind of commit to the process of uh, training for life, not necessarily to be competitive in a specific event. But she does zone two Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Then she'll go walk. She goes walking with the group a couple days a week, which is kind of a moderate zone. It used to be zone two for her for sure, but now it's not so much because she's in better shape. But then she does a VO2 max workout either on a Saturday or a Sunday. She did one earlier today in the unfinished part of our studio here. Call it our studio, but our basement. But the unfinished part of her basement is where we have all the equipment. And she did her VO2 max earlier, and I was just talking to her before we started the live stream here, and she's like, "Man, I can tell I work. My legs are tired." And you should be tired after that. But for zone two, you should be, pleasantly tired at the end, but you shouldn't feel the effects of it the next day. So 2 to 4 sessions a week. You can do more, especially if you're used to doing it. Okay. Um, but in terms of total time, if you can get at least an hour to maybe 3 hours, that seems to be the sweet spot as far as time doing zone two work. So definitely try to get in an hour. So if you're doing two 30-minute sessions, that gives you an hour. If you're doing 3 1-hour sessions, that's 180 minutes. If you're doing 4 45-minute sessions, that's 180. So you can split it up either way, but try to do at least 30 minutes a session. And then, yep. And then the important thing, this last thing that I put together is you want to monitor your progress. When you're first starting out, you might only be able um, to do 5 or 10 minutes at zone two, and then after a while, you'll build up to say 30 minutes, and then you can get to the point where I can do 30 minutes. Now I can do maybe 45 minutes 3 days a week, and I feel fine. At some point, your fitness is going to keep building, which is fantastic. That's the whole point, is you want to be building your fitness. But you're going to find that that the same effort level isn't going to yield the same results. Once again, on Zwift, using the smart trainer, you can dial in basically how much power how many watts resistance on the trainer, and as you get more fit, you will find that, hey, to get my heart rate to that zone two, let's say 120, maybe I was doing 150 watts. Now, if I do 150 watts, it's really hard to get my heart rate to 115. Now you have to increase the wattage. My wife has found that tremendously. She started off, she's increased her over the last year and a half. She's been actively doing zone two. She's had to increase the watts that she's been using on Zwift by 30, 40%. I mean, she was starting from relatively not doing much zone two at all to now doing quite a bit. But as she's gotten fit, she's had to increase. So the important thing is to monitor your progress and make adjustments as necessary. Fitness is going to increase, so you're going to have to adjust. Okay. The important thing here is don't rush it. Don't feel like you have to uh, advance very quickly. We're playing a long game here. And by long, I mean decades. Hopefully, for the rest of your life, you'll be able to do activities zone two. Okay. So for me, I'm 60. I just turned 60 last year. My hope is I'd like to make it into my 90s. So that's 30 years for me, right? Maybe you're watching this and you just turned 35 or 40. You probably got 40, 50 years. So who cares if if you miss a week here or there, as long as you get back into it, and you get consistent. That's the most important thing, is develop that habit, that consistency. Do it in a way that it fits into your life, especially starting out. And then as you get used to it and you start seeing the benefits, you will probably start making some adjustments in those other parts of your life outside of exercise to give yourself the opportunity to get more fit and more healthy. But don't rush it. Start off at a level that you can easily do do the work. Okay. You don't need to push the watts. Let your body, do the work. Your body will adapt and adjust and grow and get stronger. So it's important. Don't rush this. It's a long-term game. And then pretty much on a regular basis, use the talk test. Even if you're riding by yourself in your basement on, to Zwift on a cartoon, I can still read out a sentence or recite something, and I know pretty good um, whether or not I'm in the right zone or not. Okay, so the important thing I think with all of this is that it's it's a long term game. It's a long game. It's not the same zone two training from a health span and being strong and healthy and vital. Training now for when you're in your 70s or 80s or later. That is it's a long game. So take a long take a long term perspective on it. Don't rush it. Do something you enjoy. You don't have if you don't like cycling, you don't have to get a Peloton or a Zwift or ride your bike. If you enjoy hiking and walking, you can use that as your primary mode, especially at the beginning. And then if you decide, hey, I just like to keep walking, I don't want to do anything else, you may find that as you get stronger, you may need to maybe go to the gym and use a treadmill or find an uphill to get your heart rate up in that level, or add weight on your back. Rucking is I'm gonna have to do a video about rucking because that's another great way to kind of increase the difficulty. And on the same, at the same speed, if you're carrying weight on your back, your heart rate's going to go up. But the important thing is to find something you enjoy doing, build the habit of doing it, get into the habit of doing the exercise on a regular basis, and start from where you are. That's all you can do. If you have not been active for a period of time, or maybe you've never really been active, that's fine. The important thing is that you're making a decision to start from this point forward. And if you do that and then approach it steadily, methodically, like the turtle, right? Tortoise and the hare. I almost said the tortoise and the tear. The tortoise and the hare. If you approach it that, hey, slow and steady does win the race in this case. So start from wherever you are. If you haven't been active, I always recommend that you talk to a qualified medical professional, maybe your primary care physician, cardiologist, whoever you're getting your medical care from. Get the okay from them. Make sure there's no restrictions or things you need to be aware of. always smart to do that before you start anything new or, do something different than what you've been doing. But once you're cleared from the medical side of things, you got the okay, take your time, start at a level you can maintain, and do something you enjoy. That's the primary the primary goal here, because we're not training for um, uh, we're not training for a specific event that's coming up next week or anything like that. We are training for life. And like I said before, decades and decades and decades into the future, hopefully, that you're still going to be able to be active in doing this. So take your time, do something you enjoy, um, appreciate the process. And once you do that, you're going to start seeing benefits, especially if you have not been doing much activity. Once you kind of get past that initial stage of getting used to the activity, and maybe there's going to be some initial soreness, maybe if you haven't been active at all. But once you kind of get past that initial starting point and you start to consistently uh, exercise and do zone two, you're going to start noticing the benefits. And it'll go up pretty quick initially because you're kind of starting from a lower area. So you're going to be able to jump up to a decent level pretty quickly. And then from there, it'll be a slow and gradual climb, but it should be going up or at the least staying the same as you age. And that's really the goal. And the more you do zone two training or any kind of exercise, but the more you do zone two training specifically, the uh, the more your body is going to adapt and improve and get stronger, and you're going to start realizing all of those benefits that come from zone two training. So about it. I know there's been a few people watching. I don't know if anybody wants to pop into the comments. I'd be interested to hear where you are watching from. Are you here in the U.S.? Are you uh, in another country? I know it looks like I get a lot of viewers from the U.S. and also from the UK. So I'd be interested to hear where you're watching from. So if you want to pop in and leave a comment, fantastic. If not, that's okay too. But I'd love to know where you're watching from, maybe how you found the channel here. Any other information you can leave in the chat now or leave in the comments after the fact. I would be very interested in doing that. So, a couple of things before I end this. I know I've kind of been going on here, but I wanted to share a couple opportunities for you to get involved and maybe build a little bit of a community, maybe outside of YouTube. And the first thing I want to talk about is I don't know if any of you are familiar with the app called uh, Strava. It's an activity app that a lot of people use it seems mostly runners and cyclists, but a lot of people use it to keep track of their activities for walking. I use it to keep, to keep track of pretty much all my activities. So strength training, rowing, cycling, walking, running, trail running, skiing, all that. But it's a free social media app for athletes and people that exercise. And the free level is pretty complete. You can share activities with your friends. You can, if you have a watch, something like I've got this a Garmin Forerunner watch. Uh, it'll can communicate, like if you have a Fitbit or any other fitness tracker. Almost all of them will be able to connect with Strava. And if you want to kind of join a group of other, I call it like-minded activity people, I've set up a group on Strava called the uh, the fitness the fitness roadmap. It is a club, such as a club is, I guess, that you can join, uh, and just post as you post activities. They will go into the club feed, so you can see this morning I did what I call an afternoon ruck. I went for walk. I've got a buddy. We've been doing like either Saturday or Sunday walks once a weekend for years. We used to cycle quite a bit together, but we go out and put some weight on our back and walk around. So you can post activities there. I will start doing some more posts too. But you can as a member you can do posts and all that. So I would encourage you to check that out. I'll put a link in the description once the live stream is done here. And go ahead and if you're on Strava and you didn't know about this club, great. If you want to join the Fitness Roadmap Club on Strava, it'd be great to have to get some more members. Right now, it's myself, my brother, my wife, and a couple other people that found a club and joined. So the more the merrier. I'd like to build it up to a good group. And here we go. We got and Mark. What a great name. From Southington, Connecticut. Found you somewhere in the Zwift world talking about Zone 2 training. Yeah, that's where a lot of people have found me. So thanks for joining in, Mark. I appreciate it, and hope you're getting some value out of this. I really appreciate it. And if there's anybody you know that could benefit from this kind of um, content and maybe wants to learn a little bit more, I'd love to have them be part of the group as well. I really want this to be something more like-minded, I'll call us mature adults, over the age of 40 primarily. Like I said, if you're under, great, but I think for adults kind of in late 30s and above, need a community like this that's focused on fitness, but not necessarily getting all the gains and bodybuilding and all that. Which there's a lot of great fitness channels, but our focus is more on taking that long term approach. So anybody that wants to join in, great. Thank you for sharing, Mark. That's fantastic. Glad to have you here. So I think, Mark, you're probably on Zwift, and you're probably on Strava. So go ahead and join the Fitness Roadmap Club. That would be fantastic. And anybody else that wants to join, like I said, Strava's free to join. I'll post a link in the description afterwards. So definitely do that. And then I'm just gonna, if you are on Zwift, this is just my feed in Zwift, my own activity feed. I've been on Zwift since I think 2021, the last ride I did. So yeah, if you join Zwift, you can track all your efforts and everything there. I've done some running and / walking. So running, and you can join Zwift for free. It's a kind of a neat thing. You can join Zwift for free if you use a treadmill. So as long as you have like a little foot pod that'll track your activity, you can. I think running and walking on Zwift is free. So that's kind of a cool way to do it. Cycling, they do have an annual membership. I think it's $200 a year. So yeah, it's a little bit, but it's a great community as well. So I'm on Zwift. You can find me on Zwift, Mark Sinderson. So definitely check that out as well. That's about it. I just hope you get some value out of this. Let me know in the comments if you found this valuable. Do you think this would be something that would be worthwhile continuing? What I'm thinking is maybe a week or two after the most recent video. So this one kind of followed up the video I did 2 weeks ago about determining your intensity level for zone 2. So that's what this one is in. The one I posted last week about what the heck was it? Whatever I posted last week. Yeah, actually just a few days ago about activity. Exercise is really not an option if you're over 40. I think that might be a fun one to talk about maybe next Sunday or the Sunday after. Take a look on the community tab on the channel for an update there. But I think this time seems to work pretty good. For me, 4 o'clock Sunday. If there's any preference one way or the other, I can move it maybe to late afternoon, 5-6 o'clock during the weekday. There's a few weekdays that might work there, or Sunday. I want to make it, obviously we can't not everybody can join. Obviously, everybody has different schedules. But if this time seems to work, let me know. Or if you have a suggested other time that might work for you, leave a comment as well, and I will try to accommodate as much as I can. I do have some flexibility in my schedule, not a lot, but I've got some flexibility some weeknights, and then Sunday afternoon, like I said, at 4 o'clock seems to work. Maybe we can catch people that are in Europe or the UK. Maybe you're not in bed yet, so let me know in the comments, and I will let everybody get back to the rest of the day. I've got a bit of work to do before the week starts again. So, hope everybody had a great week. Great chatting with all of you today, and stay tuned to the community tab on the channel. I'll post update about upcoming live streams. But yeah, I kind of like the format here, so maybe we can do this every week or two. It's kind of a more of a deep dive into the recent video that I post. So stay tuned for that. Next video should post probably Wednesday or Thursday of this coming week. So keep your eye open for that, and be sure to share and comment. And I'd love the conversation, whatever we can to all learn together, learn and grow and benefit together. So that is it for me today. Thanks for joining in, everybody. Mark, thank you for popping in. Everybody else after the fact, thank you. And until next time, enjoy the journey and be well. All right. We'll see you.